Hey there, Math 1 students. Lesson 2.1, our lesson goals for today: identify an arithmetic sequence and identify a geometric sequence. This is the first lesson of our new chapter where we're talking about sequences, and mainly these two, arithmetic sequences and geometric sequences. Now, before I can actually get into the difference between these two, let's in general talk about what a sequence is in math. So a sequence in math is a list of numbers. I'll give you an example. So let's say I have a list where my first number is 1, my second number is 12, my second number is 123, and I'll stop after the fifth number there, after 12,345. So I have a list of 5 different numbers, and we can call this a sequence. Now, when describing this list, I can actually refer to each number as a term. So the number 1 here, this is actually my first term. This number 123 here is my third term. The number 12 is my second term. This one's my fourth, and this one's my fifth. So each of these represents a term. Really, like the most important one is this first term. Where do you begin your sequence? Where does your list begin? So with these sequences, you can actually see it written out like this. Another thing that you may see is you may actually see this written out as a table, where over here we have the term number, and over here we have the term value. So for example, my first term for this list, what was my first number? Oh, it was just 1. What was my second term? 12. My third term was 123. My fourth term was that. And that. So with these sequences, you can see them in a couple different ways. You can see them as a list like this, or you can see them as a table, where on the left you have term number, and then on the right side you have term value. These two things represent the same sequence. Alright, now that you have an idea of what a sequence is, again, just a list of numbers, we have 2 types of sequences that we're going to be talking about in this course. We have arithmetic sequences and geometric sequences. And see if I can focus in a little bit here. Arithmetic sequences, these are lists where we add or subtract. Alright, so we're going to be adding or subtracting in order to get the following term. And the number that we add or the number that we subtract is something called a common difference. Let me give you an example here. I'm going to start with the number 5. And let's say 5 is my first term, and I'm going to keep adding 2 to each term. So my first term is 5, my second term is 7, my third term will be 9, add 2 again, fourth term is that, add 2 again, let's add 2 again, and let's say I'll stop after 6 terms. So here I have a sequence where I know to get from this term to this term, or this term to this term, we added 2. And 2, in this case, is our common difference. Because we added 2. And if you notice, one more thing, I left this one blank on purpose. When we're talking about arithmetic sequences, you will be able to see the connection that these, when graphed, will actually make linear functions. And you know those as your y equals mx plus b's. And we'll be able to see a lot more clearly just how arithmetic sequences are related to linear functions. But for today, let's just figure out that arithmetic sequences are lists where we're adding or subtracting. This one is an adding one, where our common difference was 2. And arithmetic sequences will make linear functions. On this side, we have a geometric sequence. So what a geometric sequence will be, these are lists where we multiply and divide. So this is a multiplication symbol and division symbol. And with these, we don't have a common difference. We have something called a common ratio. All right, and we'll see what this looks like in a second. And these will not make linear functions when graphed. These are actually going to make our exponential functions. And you remember that these are like the J shapes, the L shapes from our first unit. And these equations look something like this. All right, so let's do an example of a geometric sequence. So geometric sequence, and I'm going to give you my first term as a number 1. And then let's say that I'm going to be multiplying by 3 to get each term after. So if my first term is 1, my second term, I'm going to multiply this one by 3. So 1 times 3 is 3. Okay, to figure out what my third term is going to be, I'll multiply the number right before it by 3. So 3 times 3 is 9. If I follow this pattern to get my fourth term, 9 times 3 is 27. And then one more term, let's do 5 terms. 27 times 3 is 81. So here I have a geometric sequence where my first term is 1 and we are multiplying by 3 to get each term after. So my common ratio is 3. All right, we're going to be dealing a lot more with these two things. But again, the main thing for today, guys, arithmetic sequences are lists of numbers where we can recognize that we are adding or subtracting in between the terms. Like this one over here, we were adding 2. Whereas geometric sequences are lists of numbers where we're multiplying or dividing. And in this example, we were multiplying by 3.